Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site. Also, wealthspinning.blogspot.com, a free site. Nothing I say in this video should be construed as investment or political advice. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let me say, capitalism requires secrets. You hope that companies are innovating privately with products you might not even realize you need, right? Years ago, when Apple was innovating, was privately developing the smartphone, you didn't want Apple's competitors to know what Apple was doing, right? Understand, it's the monopoly profits. It's having a corner on the market. It's having an edge on the market that rewards shareholders and that emboldens corporate leaders to create new products, to take risks, to do things like to put cameras in your phone, to give you access to maps on your phone, right? You need privacy. Understand, corporations are looking for that privacy. They don't want you to know their designs. They don't want you to know who their designers are. They don't want you to know where they're spending money, right? The goal is not some nefarious money laundering goal. It's not some nefarious tax evasion goal. No, it's an inherent part of capitalism. The goal is to innovate. The goal is to make profits by being creative, by outthinking, outworking, outperforming your competition, right? The goal is to create new markets, to deliver value to consumers. So the consumer says, wow, this smartphone is helpful. This smartphone is helping me connect with my family when I'm on the road. It's helping me stay informed, surf the internet, access websites, access email when I'm on the road. Right, folks? That requires privacy in the development of the products. So that's why, in part, we need cash. That's why, in part, every politician who's pushing the idea of a central bank digital currency should feel embarrassed. Quite frankly, they should be publicly outed. The idea is that stupid. Right, folks? We need financial privacy. Right? I'm tired of having cash be vilified. Again, capitalism requires secrets. Corporations have what we call intellectual property. The development of that intellectual property is hindered when there's a database that has surveillance over every financial transaction. You have many politicians right now running for president of the United States, right? The CBDC issue is one of the biggest issues of our time, right? It ranks right up there, in my opinion, with national security, with the protection of the Bill of Rights, right? You should summarily eliminate from consideration any candidate who doesn't discuss and attack the CBDC issue head on, right? We should be discussing things like the protection of intellectual property, the ability of entrepreneurs to have secrets so they can develop innovative products and outthink and outmaneuver their competition. Right? Why would anyone invest capital in an entrepreneurial outfit if all of the spending is in a CBDC database? Let me tell you, too, where this would head. Right? Capital is mobile. I know that's hard for people to believe. But just understand, if there's any country that has a CBDC set up that's monitoring every transaction, well, just understand, investors would move their research and development offshore. In other words, if the goal of creating a CBDC is to further commerce and tax collection, understand what you'd actually be doing is exporting commerce. You'd be losing out. You'd be too hostile to innovation for investors to agree to invest in entrepreneurial outfits in your jurisdiction. Let me move on to other issues. We thought with China coming out of COVID that the economy would be robust, that the Chinese economy would be able to make up for some of the shortfall that Western economies, notably Europe and the United States, are suffering. Right? Understand, Europe, the United States have huge debt overhangs. The thought process was that China is in a stage of its economic development where a lot of people are moving from rural areas to big cities. China has several of the biggest cities in the world, and that Chinese innovation would be rekindled once their ill-advised COVID lockdown was taken away. Well, that hasn't quite been the case. In fact, the Chinese economic performance of late has been sluggish. Right? And so there's been a realignment. You'll notice copper is down big. You'll notice that the energy market, oil, has been stagnant. Right? A barrel of crude is around $70 a barrel. Well, what I need for people to understand is that the market here is overreacting. We're just giving a macro view here. Right? You need to realize that copper usage is going to spike because of the global acceptance of electric vehicles. Just that alone should spike copper. Right? Just understand, EVs use a lot more copper than internal combustion engine vehicles. Right? Let me also point out, too, that if you're into renewable energy, things like solar energy, right? Just understand that renewable energy uses a lot of copper. Right? So the copper market right here has overshot to the downside. Understand, Tesla, a model of Tesla, was recently the biggest selling car globally in the first quarter. Right? The electric vehicle revolution has arrived, folks. When I say Tesla was the best-selling car of the first quarter, I'm talking about among all cars, and that includes internal combustion engine cars. Right now, I agree with Warren Buffett. It's unclear right now which EV company is going to take the lion's share of the market. I know many of you disagree and you believe it's going to be Tesla. Right? I applaud Tesla and Ford for getting together to allow Ford EVs to use Tesla charging stations. That's a big development. That's a positive for both companies. But right now, the winner in the EV space is unclear. But what is clear is that whoever the winner is in the EV space, they're going to be using a lot of copper. Folks, Freeport-McMoRan is an astonishing buy here in my eyes. right? Again, I'm just telling you what I'm doing, what I'm looking at, right? None of this should be construed as investment advice. I want everyone here to do their own due diligence. But just understand the market has overreacted to China's sluggish economic performance as they emerge from a COVID lockdown. So copper, the price is depressed. We were lucky last winter. The winter wasn't too fierce in Europe, right, folks? Understand energy usage is going to spike. We still have the Russian Ukrainian military conflict that's ongoing, that has disrupted supply lines, right? Just understand energy is being depressed right now, right? We heard the bad numbers from China. We thought, okay, there isn't going to be as much scarcity as we anticipated. Folks, the market's overreacted, right? I'm still extremely bullish on Chevron, on Exxon, right? On XOP, on XLE. Just food for thought. Finally, let me say this. There's a very important interview. Like many of you, I watch a lot of YouTube interviews. I'm an ardent consumer of information. Jeff Booth, who wrote one of the better books I've come across over, let's say, the last 5 years, right? The Price of Tomorrow, was on Kitco with Michelle McCory. Now, that's a very good, very important show. And Booth, who's adept at cryptocurrency, was talking about how, in his opinion, Ethereum didn't have the value as a blockchain that Bitcoin does. Because Ethereum, compared to Bitcoin, and it's all relative, has a much more centralized blockchain. Right? Here again, why would an investor want to give a premium to a centralized blockchain? Right? Same logic with CBDCs. Right? Why would I want to give a premium to government issued money in a centralized database? Same logic here. Why would I want to spend a lot of money on a centralized blockchain where people can actually deconstruct my transactions, especially when I'm trying to be entrepreneurial. I'm trying to have some secrecy as I engage in research and development to give my company an edge on the market. Right now, I believe in Ethereum because of Ethereum's capabilities. But just understand, the public right now is confused. They don't understand the inherent premium that should be placed on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? It's proof of work, it's not proof of stake. That leads to much more decentralization. That leads to a much more vibrant, countervailing part of the ecosystem by having an independent mining community, right? Not validators. I want miners, right? Just understand that Ethereum, much more centralized than Bitcoin. Understand, one of my favorite coins, BNB, much more centralized. Binance coin, much more centralized than Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, quite frankly, and I'm bullish on all of the coins I'm mentioning here, but Bitcoin should be trading at a much greater premium to any proof of stake, more centralized blockchain. right? What ultimately is going to happen is the public down the road sometime, not right now, is going to realize the value of operating on a decentralized blockchain, right? A decentralized blockchain, quite frankly, is less of a threat to governments that are hesitant to allow any centralized outfit to come into their border and to actually have an alternative monetary system, right? If it's a commodity like gold, governments aren't threatened. But if it's an outfit that has, let's say, Vitalik Buterin leading the outfit, a government is going to be suspicious. It's going to view it as a threat to its national security, its fiscal sovereignty, right? Let's all think that through. I encourage people to look at the interview that took place yesterday on Kitco, where Michelle McCory interviews Jeff Booth, right? It's worth your time. Those are my thoughts this Friday morning. Let me hear yours. I hope you leave them in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.